Hello and welcome to my thoughts and opinions on the Riders Republic beta. I'm playing this on a PlayStation 5, but the full game's going to be available on pretty much every system except the Nintendo Switch on October 28th, 2021. And of course, remember, if you enjoy this video or find it useful, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. So first things first, I guess, let's talk about the beta itself. At the time of uploading this video, the beta is still available and it will be running until the 27th of October, which is the day before the full release. The only catch is that you only get to play 4 hours of the game, and once that game time runs out, you simply can't play it anymore, although your progress will carry over into the full game if you decide to buy it. And in regards to that 4-hour time limit, do be aware that the time still counts down if you pause the game or put the console into sleep mode while the game's running. I actually did it myself. I paused the game to have my dinner and I lost about 20 minutes, but luckily it didn't matter in the end, and don't worry, we'll get to why that was very soon. So what can you actually do in the demo/beta? Well, when you first boot it up, you'll be able to create your character from some pretty basic options and then head into the game properly. You'll very quickly be put into an intro race against bots and given a quick tutorial on the controls. In fact, the first 40 to about 45 minutes of the game are virtually a linear tutorial where you're taking on events in the order that the game wants you to. Keep in mind that all the cutscenes and tutorials do count towards the 4 hours of game time, and if I'm remembering things correctly, I think there were some unskippable sections, so yeah, that is a thing to be aware of. Once you've played the game for a solid hour or so, you'll probably be at the stage where you can explore and enter whatever events you like. You can play pretty much everything against bots or against other live players. The bots you race against aren't bots in the usual sense though. They would probably be better described as ghosts of other real players who've completed that race before you did. As you compete in events, you'll earn stars and bucks. As you accumulate stars, you'll unlock new events to compete in and new gear to use in those events. You know, things like bikes, snowboards, wingsuits, that kind of stuff. All of the gear has detailed stats, an overall rating system, and a rarity color, which means you can, of course, earn better stuff as you progress through the game. I think it also gives the player that sense of a loot drop or a collection, which I personally appreciate in games in general. The bucks that you earn from events are basically just a currency used to buy cosmetics from the shop, which is located at the main hub area of the game. That hub area is called Riders Ridge. In my opinion, the cosmetic items range from stuff that looks decent enough to some stuff that looks kinda bad. Now, you probably saw this coming, but the main issue here is that there is, of course, a premium currency that's locked off for the beta. And, you know, Ubisoft, are they going to be charging £1 or $1 for these cosmetics? Highly unlikely. You're probably looking at, what, 10 to 15 pounds or dollars for a full suit, or maybe even more, who knows? As usual, there really isn't any of these cosmetics that, in my opinion, are worth anywhere near that kind of money, and I swear every time a new game ships with this kind of crap, it just chips away at my soul. Honestly, it really does. Couldn't they have just included all of that stuff in the game as unlockables and rewards for completing and playing the game? Or is that dangerous thinking? I just don't know, but either way, I find it really scummy and I will never personally support it, but if you're of a different opinion and you like this stuff, hey, it's your money, spend it how you like. There is quite a few events you can participate in which require you to use different extreme sports equipment. You can do things like downhill mountain bike races, skiing, snowboarding, and even flying around using a wingsuit with rockets attached to it. In fact, some races actually have you transitioning between these different modes of transport during the race itself. You could be racing downhill on a bike, for example, hit a huge ramp and then instantly end up flying your wingsuit for the next section of the race. You'll then be flying through checkpoints, weaving in and out of trees, and then land on a snowy mountain where your wingsuit suddenly becomes a snowboard for the last leg of the event. As I said earlier, these events can be played against ghosts of other players or actual live players, and it always gets pretty messy. As far as I could tell during my time with the game, you cannot collide with other players in the ghost races, but you can run into real players. Having said that though, I found it to be very inconsistent in regards to live players, which is probably down to the netcode or lag or something similar, but sometimes, you know, you get the slightest knock and go flying off the track, but then other times you would just kind of phase right through people, which was just a bit weird. If you just want to relax and not really enter any events at all, you can just explore the open world at your leisure. There is actually stuff to find out there like in-game money, smaller events, and vistas which when activated show you everything in a decently sized surrounding area. This is a Ubisoft game after all, so things like radio towers or synchronization points were probably inevitable. I mean, I actually don't mind it as a game mechanic, I never really have. It's never really been something that's bothered me, but honestly I know some people are sick of them, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Now, obviously I haven't gone into every little detail here, but in the interest of time, let me now give you some of my opinions on what what I've played so far. So earlier on I alluded to the fact that the timer didn't end up mattering for me. As I mentioned, I lost about 20 minutes of game time to a pause menu and played then for around, I think, 3 hours or so. So at a certain point I looked at my remaining time and saw that I had around 35 to 40 minutes left. And I'm afraid to say that I was absolutely done with the game right there and then. I literally shut down the game and deleted it from my console. And, you know, I know this is going to sound harsh, but let me just say, this is just 100% my feelings on the game. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't buy it or that you're wrong for enjoying it. But as I always say, not everything is for everyone, and that's okay, which I kind of feel like is very quickly becoming my catchphrase. But anyway, let me try and explain myself, and actually while I think of it, if you have played the beta, please do let me know what you thought of it in the comments, because I'd really be interested to see what other people thought of it, and to see if it's just kind of a me thing. So, obviously the cosmetics shop and the microtransaction stuff is a big no-no for me personally, but we don't really need to go into all that because I think you guys know how I feel about that stuff. Funnily enough, the main deal breaker for me here was actually the controls and how the game felt to play. I personally found the controls to be absolutely abysmal. Everything just feels really off and just unresponsive to me. So much so that after I played the beta, I actually had to go and play 2 other games I own to make sure my DualSense controller wasn't broken. I tried to explain how the game felt to my missus, and the only way I could really describe it to her was if the developers had taken the handling and controls from one game, and then the track design and physics from another and just kinda stuck them together. I mean, some of the tracks are so narrow and the slightest bump can send you into the stratosphere. Now granted, watching my character crash down the side of a mountain did make me laugh more than I care to admit, but after maybe 2 to 4 races, it was getting quite frustrating. And I'm not an angry gamer. You know, I've never smashed a controller in a rage or anything even close to that, but seriously, this game was testing my patience. Of course, let's also explore the possibility that I could just be really crap at the game. That is likely, but the controls and handling of this game just don't feel right for the tracks they want you to race on, and trust me, I lost a lot of game time to the options menu trying to make it feel better, but nothing I seemed to do made anything any better. And besides the handling of your character, I also found the general controls of the trick system to be really obtuse. You know, in other extreme sports games like Tony Hawk's or SSX, where you would hold down a single button and let go of that button to jump? Well, in this game, all the face buttons are technically jump buttons. So for example, if you hold down triangle and then let go of that button when you go off a ramp, you can then hold the cross button in the air to do a backflip, or you can do the opposite to do a front flip. So, you know, hold down cross, release to jump, and then hold triangle to flip. The same is true for holding square to circle and then holding circle to square, which makes you spin left and right. It's just such a weird system to me and feels really unnatural to perform. Then it gets even worse in my opinion. You can hold down the L2 or R2 buttons and then move the analog sticks to perform grabs or other tricks depending on what you're riding. When I played a game like SSX or even 1080 snowboarding back in the day, I was able to learn pretty much all of the moves and perform the ones I wanted to do when I wanted to do them. But in Riders Republic, I just kind of felt like I was rolling a dice with each trick that I did and never fully grasped which trick I was about to do, which in turn screws with your landings. Obviously, like anything, if you played this game for longer than 4 hours, you're probably going to start to get somewhere with the controls and learn what to do. But I don't think it's controversial to say that the controls should be fun, easy to learn and intuitive from the get-go. Visually, I think the game looks alright. You know, it looks fine. The thing is though, it's just kinda empty and kinda dull. Although considering the way the gameplay works, I suppose it would need to be that way. To me, this looks very much like a last-gen game, and that's because it is. And that's fine. But I guess when you consider that Ghost of Tsushima was also a last-gen game, I think Riders Republic kinda misses the mark a little bit, although it is a huge map. There's definitely some spots that look really great when the light hits just right and you're looking out over a mountain or something, but in general, it's just fine. You know, not bad, but not really very good either. It's just okay. It does what it needs to do, and it runs well, so that's something. But yeah, I suppose in conclusion, the awful handling and the gameplay being frankly infuriating to me, mixed with the free-to-play microtransaction stuff in a full-price game has really turned me off of this. In fact, I've actually cancelled my pre-order and I don't think I'm going to be reviewing this. I mean, if Ubisoft had have provided me a code, I guess sure. I would take it seriously and push through the game and give it a fair review because frankly I would be obligated to do so, and I'd try to be professional about it. However, I just can't personally justify spending that much money on this game myself, and again, this may be harsh, but I think this game should have been free to play. I genuinely do. I mean, not that I like free to play games, but if this game had have been snappy, responsive and fun, I could have at least enjoyed the core gameplay for what it was and ignored the microtransactions. As it stands though, this beta really disappointed me, and I would strongly suggest that if you were thinking of picking this up and you have the means to play this beta, please do so. You may actually find that you have the same issues I had, and it would really suck for any of you to buy the game and just get stuck with it when I could have perhaps saved you the trouble. So yeah, please give the demo a try if you can before you buy the game. And yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on the Riders Republic beta. A bit of a downer for me, but I'm pretty sure there's lots of people out there who'll love it. And if you're one of those people, then cool, I'm kind of jealous of you honestly, but it is what it is. If you have any questions, or perhaps there was something I missed that you'd like to know about, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you enjoyed the video or found it useful, I hope today will be the day that I earn your subscription, and if you want to support the channel even further, all the important links are in the video description down below. But with all that said, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.